Hello again. It's been a bit. Keep making messes and cleaning them up and making them again and cleaning them up, and I'm in the middle of another mess at the moment. If you can't tell with my desk, I've got like 20 different projects going. If I could ever finish anything, I'd be happy. I'm hoping to actually get this one complete today, maybe. We'll see. I've had this octagonal box in my stash for years. It was packaging for it wasn't a heating blanket, but it was something along those lines, something that you put on your bed to keep your feet warm or something. And I initially had done some things to it. I'd covered it in paper and, stenciled some embossing paste over it and stuff. And I really didn't like the way it was going. And I just didn't think that what I was doing to it really complemented the box. So I decided to just set it aside, and umpteen bazillion years later, here we are. So the box was, the sides were completely filled in. I cut them out. And I thought I would talk a little bit about how I did that, and then how I came to cover the paper over it and stuff like that. First, the cutting out bit. So, just to give an idea here, this is how the sides, of course, looked before. And I took a couple dies with shapes that I liked, that I thought might work, and took a ruler. And of course, you've got to have the side supports on this, because I debated about cutting half of the sides out and leaving the back half and doing like a diorama or something, but I like the idea of doing something that could be multifunctional. Leaving it in this state and cutting out the windows in each section means that I can do a little floral display in the center, or I could put a candle in the center, obviously not burning it, an electric candle if I'm going to use it, or, just different ways that I could use it as decor. Whereas if I cut the half of the box out in the front, then that would be a little more limiting, I thought, to the different looks that I could get from it. So I took a ruler and lined it up with I started this off with the box still together, and then ended up having to take it apart. Realized that there was no way I was going to be able to do what I wanted with it still. So I just took the side pieces apart so that I could lay it flat. But I took from the center and lined it up with whatever measurement I wanted, and then drew my lines all the way across the piece so that I knew where the sides would fall. And then I took the dies, and I've got one of them right here, provided I can pull it off. And then I just lined it up with those lines. I did end up drawing some lines coming down the full length of the box piece, the side of the box, so that I could get consistency in lining up these pieces, and then just lined up the die and traced it out so that I knew where I was cutting. Then I took an X-Acto knife and cut the inside out. Some tips on that, though, because these side pieces are fairly thin when it comes to cutting cardboard. When you have fiddly bits that you're trying to keep together, cutting it becomes kind of difficult because you have a tendency to want to bend things and whatever to get your cut, and you really can't do that with something that's as thin as these are. So what I ended up doing is, it'd probably be easier to see on this side, and let me get a piece of paper or something so that you can see the cutout area a little bit better. Pardon me. There we go. Okay, so what I ended up doing... Oh, did I hit... My apologies. I didn't mean to do that. The end pieces are just so cumbersome. They're all over the place. So what I ended up doing is I would go through with my X-Acto knife and cut just the top of the design and just the bottom of the design, leaving the edges. That way it was easier. The piece was rigid enough to get those more delicate, intricate cuts made, because I didn't have the box flopping around all over the place. And then once I had the cuts made for the tops and the bottom, then I went back and cut the straight pieces. That was a lot easier to cut, and even with these being, as I cut them away, these thinner pieces, it was still rigid enough to cut a straight piece. That wasn't as difficult that way. So I'm very pleased with how the design has turned out, how well it cut out. The next thing was, because I had to take the previous paper that I had glued on the box off, it's left this almost felted feel to the box. And of course you've got the edge of the cardboard showing with the cuts, and I really didn't want that. I wanted it to look a little more finished. So I decided to cover it with paper and then wrap the paper around. And so I used double-sided tape. That was the easiest thing for me to do, and just taped up the side pieces and then taped up the top and the bottom with Score Pal or Score Tape. Is it called Score Pal? Score Pal something else. I don't know. It's Score Tape, but there's another name for it that I can't think of offhand. Sukaneko? No. Sukwang. There we go. Sukwang tape. That wasn't the brand that I used, but it's a similar type. The Sukwang is a well-known brand, and I do have some of it. It just wasn't... I just didn't have any in the size that I needed for this, so I used a different brand that I had the right size in. And while I'm going into those details, I have no clue. Anyway, back on topic. Once I got the tape down and peeled the backing off of it and stuck my paper down, I'd peel off a section at a time and stick the paper down so that I didn't have an inordinate amount of wrinkling and whatnot. I wanted this to be fairly smooth. After I did that, sorry, I didn't mean to, it's these flippy bits. I came back and I cut angles, and hold on a second, I've got a pencil over here somewhere. So I took, I cut with my X-Acto knife down like this, and then across like this. Or no. Did I cut it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did it that way. And then cut down like that. That way I could open these flaps up to cover the edges, And then I did another cut here and here and then here so that I could fold these back and it maintain the shape of the cut that I had made. Of course, I trimmed some of this stuff out because it just was getting a little cumbersome. And then down here, I'm hoping you can see this. I cut there and then there and then there to get the flaps to fold out. And then once I used art glitter glue to glue down because it's a fast setting glue for paper crafting. So it didn't take very long to put everything in position, hold it for a few seconds, and then move on to the next area. But once I got it down, I could then rub and burnish to mold the paper into the shape. Otherwise, you'll have little sharp edges where the paper, where you've cut it to bend it around. For curved surfaces, you kind of have to force it in. The reason you make those cuts in these areas, though, is to release the tension of the paper so that you can get it to fold around. And then I did that with the tops as well. I trimmed it up and folded it over to have a more finished edge. And then I'll do the same to the ends. And I'm thinking once I'm done with that, because of course with the windows you're going to be able to see the inside, and I don't want to see all these little tabs and stuff that I've created to line the front side of the box. I'm going to glue down another sheet of paper over top of this. The paper that I used is a poster board type paper for bulletin boards. It's not poster board. What am I thinking? It's bulletin board paper is what it is. It's thicker than wrapping paper, but not so thick as to not be bendable and movable as I needed it to be. But when I lay it down, I'm going to have to figure out how to cut the designs out slightly smaller so that you don't see them. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. So, but that's what I've got so far, and when I complete it, I will probably do another video showing it. The idea is I'm going to paint it ultimately. Something else you want to keep in mind is when you wrap paper around something that then has to take a different shape, is to bend that shape back into place. Paper does really well with slight angles. These obviously aren't going to, up to a 90-degree angle actually, if it's not too thick a paper. So that's what is giving the nice smooth cover for me to then paint over top of. I'm just really not sure how I'm gonna fix the inside. That has got me baffled. But it is a fixable thing that I can come up with a solution fairly quickly and work that out. When it comes to things like this, it's best, if possible, to use one sheet if you're going to cover something so that you don't have seams. Especially if you're going to paint or something, you need to have the surface that you're painting to be pretty consistent. If you have those lines from the paper butting up against each other, you're going to see that in the paint. And so that's something else to take into consideration. But anyway, that's what I've got going on right at the moment. Some of my other projects that I'm in process of, I've had these little, I think they were meant for snacks or something, little gift boxes to give away. Excuse me, getting the hiccups. Give away stuff in or something. And I don't do stuff like that, so I've just had these sitting in my craft room for ages. And decided to do a little kind of almost like a diorama. I've got to figure out how I'm going to cover the outside of these boxes yet. But I've got somewhere some little unicorns, and I'm not sure how I'm going to pop them up. I don't know if maybe I'll cut them out quite a few more times and layer them up to get them to stand out from the background so that the background is separate from the design. But I thought that might be kind of cute. And then of course I've got, this has been sitting on my desk for ages too, they're fairy garden things that I got from Dollar Tree. And I painted them an ivory color or plaster or something light. And then used I don't know if I used gray or black wax or aging wax on them. But I waxed them up. I'm wanting to do a diorama with these as well. I've got to figure out what I did with the saw that I got to cut the side pieces for it. But those are sitting on my desk yet. And the mess that I just finished creating and cleaning up is I went through, I've got to do these. These are new to my collection. I went through all my embossing folders and embossed them and put them in folders that, not the embossing folders, but the embossed papers for a catalog of my embossing folders. What I had used previously was getting too small. I had too many embossing folders to put in the binders that I had, so I had to upgrade. I just need to quit buying stuff is really what I need to do. And I also did that, a similar thing with my die cuts. I went through all the dies that I had bought since the last time I had cataloged them so that I could get those in the catalogs too. And then the mess that I just finished making before I started this project is I've got some alcohol ink that I'm trying to use up, and so that's what you're seeing here is all alcohol ink. And I can flip through those real quick if I don't have all of them over here. And I'll show you some of them then. So these, I did these on just its poster board that I picked up, I think, at Dollar Tree maybe. It's not ideal for alcohol ink. It doesn't give you the best results, but it's usable results, and that's all I was really looking for. Because I just wanted to get this stuff used up. And you can see all the pretties that I made. And I'll just use these to die cut from and do different things with, do card fronts with them or what have you. Some of these could be used all on their own and whatnots. I did some in patriotic colors. And I had a whole bunch of mandalas from a coloring book I'll show those too. That I have cut up and made into cards. I usually will put a white sentiment on these, because I've made similar ones before. And I like the addition of the embossing. I just glue I cut the mandalas into fourths, then I glue them down to the black cardstock, and then I run it through an embossing folder. Some of these I trimmed down a little bit further to have a white border, and some of them I just left full size. So, just to give you some ideas. Some of these were odd-shaped mandalas. That's why this is showing much less than that is. But it's a simple, easy card idea. It doesn't take much. You know, you can just sit and color in front of the TV and get a whole bunch of them made. And then some of these I put little metallic accents on. And then just cut them down and turn them into greeting cards. Yeah, I think that's probably all the designs. And then, since I was playing with the embossing folders, I had some... Oh, did I just drop... Oh, okay. I was afraid I dropped some on the floor. God only knows what grunge it would pick up from there. I had some black paper sitting on my desk that I was wanting to use up, and so I was like, well, now's a good time to do that, because, you know, I don't have 20 bazillion other projects going on. So I used Sizzix Luster Wax on these. They turned out fairly nice. And then these are some of the floral embossing folders. I think I'm gonna give that one up. It's really not mine. I like the flowers, but the layout and stuff just really isn't my thing. I'm hoping that that's capturing. They turned out really nice. So I've got to go through my sentiments dies and pick out some words to die cut to put on all these cards that I've made. So, but those are the messes that I've got into and I'm cleaning up from, and sometimes I wish I didn't see such potential in everything, because now I've got these from cutting out from that box, and I'm thinking, ooh, I could do something with those. Oh, so one more thing to store away, but at least the box will be out of the craft room. Ounce by ounce, I'm finally slowly getting stuff out. So, anyway, I hope everyone has a good weekend and got a little something out of today. Oh, something else that I did. I bought these skulls on sale at Joann's a while back and wanted to do something with them stacked, and so I did that too. I got one of those wood burning tools that's got the X-Acto knife with it, or craft knife, I guess. It's not exactly an X-Acto knife because it's attached to a thing that you screw into the burner, but you can use it to cut holes with, and so that's what I did to get and this is actually bamboo straws that I found on clearance at Walmart, and it just seemed like might be a useful thing, and so it was. So I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to do with these. I'm going to attach the bamboo to something so that it's a stand. I'm thinking I might paint these and black and then do something over top of them to bring out the details. But thought that was kind of nifty. I'm thinking I'll need to sand the edges down where you can see the mold lines. I'd kind of prefer not to see those if possible. So, but it's another thing stacked on my desk to do. I couldn't just put the skulls away. I was like, hey, I can get that out of my craft room. Yeah, a couple months later, they'll probably still be sitting there. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. Hope everyone has a good weekend and at least got a chuckle. Bye.